Okay, it's about 1:30 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesday, April 1st, and I just took a break from watching Senator Cory Booker's live stream. What he's doing is not technically a filibuster, but he has been speaking nonstop on the floor of the Senate for 20 hours now. There is talk that he is trying to break Strom Thurmond's record of 24 hours and 18 minutes. Folks have all kinds of reactions and responses to what Cory is doing. And I want to talk about my own thought process on it, because initially I was like, and as this has gone on, my thoughts, my reactions have really evolved, and I've changed my position on what I think about what the senator is doing. So initially, when I saw all the press releases that the senator was going to be speaking on the floor for as long as he could, I was hoping to go at least 15 hours, I was like, okay, this is definitely about drawing attention to himself, because maybe he is positioning himself to replace Chuck Schumer as the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. That was my initial thought. I have never been the biggest fan of Cory Booker or like any establishment Democrat in the Senate, but particularly Cory has drawn some fire over the last few months because, well, first of all, he takes a bunch of money from AIPAC, and there was like an unfortunate clip that went viral between him and a TikToker where he was quite rude, and he has not taken criticism well for his position on Gaza. But then he also voted for the TikTok ban and then proceeded to make a TikTok account and like post a ton of stuff on TikTok. And we were like, you said that this was a national security risk and a security risk for anybody who uses it, and therefore we need to ban the app. But then you have an account and you're posting stuff on here. So like, which is it? So I think popular opinion of him amongst a lot of Democrats has been not that great the last few months. So of course people are going to be skeptical of him announcing that he's going to do this big show, this big demonstration. But then, I thought about it a little bit more, and I was thinking of the timing of what he's doing. And then I started to watch the feed a little bit and listen to what he was saying as he was reading out letters, emails, and telling the stories of American citizens who are being harmed by this regime. And I was like, first of all, Cory is a very compelling public speaker, right? He's very articulate and he's very good at delivering a message. But we know that the Democrats have really, really been struggling to get the attention of the media, to have a social media presence, to get the word out. Their press conferences are not being covered that well. Their speeches, both in committees, their lines of questioning, and any speech they give on the floor of the House or the Senate is not really getting played that much. We're not hearing from them. The legacy media is very much pushing Trump's agenda, interviewing all kinds of, MAGA electeds. And Democrats have been struggling to break through. And I think they've heard from their constituents, like, y'all need to really get a lot more savvy about your media interaction, not just legacy media, but also social media. So as I was watching this live stream on the senator's TikTok in like the middle of the night, there were 20,000 people watching. And I'm sure he's streaming on other platforms as well. So as I'm watching along with 26,000 other people, I'm like, how many of these folks are hearing about some of these issues, some of the suffering, some of the harm that is being done by this regime for the first time? And then I noticed that TikTokers were covering it. It's getting covered on Instagram. The social media sphere is interested in what the senator is doing. And so that is then drawing more attention to his live feed. And then I've noticed, hang on, it's not just social media that's covering what's happening. It's getting traction in legacy media as well. Story after story after story about what Senator Booker is doing. And what I began to realize the couple of times I kept hopping back on the live feed is that the senator is doing exactly what we asked of him. So there's been this tremendous pushback from Democratic voters giving feedback to their electeds saying, y'all are not doing enough. Chuck Schumer needs to resign. He's not equipped for this moment. He is absolutely fumbling the bag. And y'all need to get rowdy. You need to be tenacious. You need to be ruthless. You need to use every tool in the toolbox and stop acting like you can't do anything to defend democracy. And here is Senator Cory Booker using the tools that he has available. He is taking advantage of the fact that he can get on the floor of the Senate and he can stand in front of that podium and talk for as long as he wants to. And he can use that to draw in social media attention, legacy media attention, and get the word out, not only about what is happening to working class Americans, but also, as my mutual Megan said, about the special elections that are happening today, right? They're saying that the timing of what Cory is doing is very strategic. Doing it the whole night before there are really critical special elections happening in multiple states is absolutely going to draw attention to those elections, get working class folks activated, get folks energized and out to vote. So this may be a stunt, but isn't that what we asked Democrats to do? To be dramatic, to be theatrical, to use every possible opportunity to defend democracy and to educate working class folks about the way that this regime, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, are exploiting all of us and actively making our lives worse. And so, no hate to any of my mutuals who made videos today that were like, Cory, this is not enough. This is performative. This is just, self-aggrandizing. And he's just trying to wiggle his way into a more prominent leadership position in the Senate. No hate to any of those folks, because initially that is also what I thought. But I have absolutely changed my opinion. The more Cory has stood up and the more I've listened to what he's actually been saying, and the more I have seen the social media and legacy media response and coverage of it. And I don't think we should be punishing our electeds when we say, you need to get rowdy, you need to get out in front of the story, you need to be the story on behalf of the American people. And then they do that, and we're like, no, not like that. We all should be calling Senator Booker. I already called his office and left a message and was like, hey, thank you. Thanks for doing this. I've been a critic of yours in the past, but this is absolutely right. More of this. This is just the beginning. One of the things my congresswoman has said, and has also been talked about in a recent Indivisible national call, was that our electeds are really hesitant. They have got to see the American people lead the way. And then we can either drag them kicking and screaming, or some of them may find their courage and follow in step behind us. And so I think that what we're seeing with Senator Booker, and if we're saying, get with the program, we're risking it for a biscuit, y'all need to risk it for a biscuit. You need to be aggressive. You need to be tenacious. You need to be ruthless on behalf of your constituents. When they do that, we need to reward them. We need to not be hypercritical. We need to say, that's a good first go. Keep it up. Then add these things. Layer in all of these things. Step it up. How can you increase what you're doing? So I really encourage you to call the senator like I did, leave positive feedback, and then call your senators and your congressman, your congresswoman, and tell them, why aren't you doing what Cory did? Where is more of this? More of this. Think outside the box. Do something different than what you've done in the past, because what you've done is utterly fail the American people so far, or at least your leadership has. So here is an example of someone trying something that has not yet been done during this regime. Y'all need to join the party. More of this. What else can you try? What other angles, what other tactics can you take? It's the same way I called Congresswoman Janelle Bynum, who is not my congresswoman. She's in a different district in Oregon. And I called my Senator Ron Wyden to thank both of them for appearing on large podcasts and, listening to the constituents who said, you need to get out on podcasts. They heard and they took action. If I hear that a member of Congress who is not one of my representatives is doing something good, I absolutely call and I leave them feedback. And then I call my own representatives and I say, hey, did you see your colleague do that thing? Yeah, why aren't you doing that? Or did you see your colleague do that thing? I bet you can do that too. I bet you can do that and do it even better, right? Do it on behalf of all Oregonians. Do it on behalf of the American people. You have not only the support, but you have the urging of your constituents to do more of that. Our electeds in Congress are not going to save us. It is going to require us, the American people, to save ourselves. But just like the courts, our elected representatives in Congress have a role to play. While Democrats do not have the majority and thus they cannot pull the lever on impeachment, which would be the constitutional solution and the appropriate thing to do right now, as long as impeachment is never going to happen, how can members of Congress support us, the people? How can they be behind us, uplifting us, elevating our message, bringing people into the resistance? They need to think beyond, like, my only job here is to try and pass bills, or put forth bills that they know don't have a snowball's chance of even getting out of committee in this current iteration of Congress. And they need to be doing things like what Cory is doing. They need to be doing things like what AOC and Robert Garcia are doing. Tim Walz as well, holding town halls, listening to constituents, getting out and interacting with the people, getting the attention of working class Americans, because what we need is mass mobilization, activation of the American populace so that we can come together and defend our democracy. So thanks, Cory. I hope you do more of this. And I hope this prompts your colleagues to act as well. More of this. Get more tenacious. Get rowdier.